The idea of moderation has long been a guiding principle in nutrition advice, reassuring, flexible, and culturally comforting. It suggests that no food is truly off limits, that occasional indulgences are harmless, and that balance is the key to long-term health. But as new research continues to uncover how even small, consistent exposures to harmful substances affect the body, this concept of moderation deserves critical reconsideration. Because when it comes to ultra-processed foods, added sugars, nitrites, and trans fats, even so-called small amounts can carry outsized risks, especially when repeated over years or decades. Chronic disease doesn't happen overnight. It develops silently, often symptom-free, as a result of sustained biochemical insults to the body: low-grade inflammation, hormonal disruption, endothelial damage, microbiome imbalance. These processes are slow, cumulative, and influenced heavily by what we eat every day. A single hot dog, a daily soda, a weekly serving of processed deli meat. Individually, none of these seem catastrophic. But the biological effects of their additives, sugars, and chemical byproducts don't vanish when the food is digested. They linger, interact, and gradually undermine systems that keep us metabolically and immunologically resilient. This is where the myth of moderation becomes problematic. It suggests a false safety net, that frequency or quantity is the only measure of danger. But in reality, certain ingredients and food structures can harm even at low levels, especially when consumed regularly. Nitrosamines from processed meats, for example, don't require high doses to raise colorectal cancer risk. Chronic sugar intake, especially from sugary drinks, can push insulin resistance and fatty liver development even at moderate levels of 1 kg per day. And exposure to industrial trans fats, though increasingly rare in some countries, remains risky in trace amounts because of their uniquely harmful effects on cholesterol, inflammation, and vascular health. Moreover, our sense of moderation is often culturally constructed and industry-influenced. Food companies thrive on the idea that all their products can be part of a balanced diet, encouraging consumers to think less about ingredient quality and more about serving sizes. But moderation becomes meaningless when the baseline diet is already saturated with low-nutrient, high-risk items. A moderate portion of processed food in an already ultra-processed eating pattern just adds to the burden. It doesn't neutralize it. There's also the psychological trap: using moderation to justify daily consumption of foods that are fundamentally harmful when habitual. It's not uncommon to hear people say, "It's just one soda," or "I only eat bacon twice a week," as if frequency alone absolves the risk. But these small habits become rituals, and rituals become patterns, and our biology responds not to intent, but to exposure. The gut doesn't care if the emulsifier was consumed in moderation. The pancreas doesn't care if the sugar spike was just part of an afternoon treat. This doesn't mean every indulgence is toxic or that fear should guide our eating habits. But it does mean we should reframe how we define moderation. It's not just about quantity or frequency, it's about risk profile. Some foods carry higher long-term dangers than others, regardless of portion size. And for these, moderation should not be a license, it should be a warning label. The better approach is informed selectivity. Reserve truly harmful items, like processed meats, sugary beverages, and artificially stabilized snacks, for rare occasions, not routine consumption. Don't let moderation serve as a shield against changing habits that, in the long run, matter. Because when the science shows that even small amounts of certain foods raise disease risk measurably, we owe it to ourselves to rethink whether moderation is always wise, or sometimes just dangerously comforting. Health is cumulative. The choices that feel minor today may define the outcomes we face decades from now.